gamers, it's Jen, the Board Game Librarian of the Literary Gamers, and today I'm going to look at 4 games that were not for me. I should say that when games are sent to me, I always want to have an outstanding experience, and I want every game to be outstanding. I want people to succeed and people to thrive and for them to achieve their dream. And for many people, this is their dream. They want to get a game published. And it does me no, like I'm not getting any, like, there's a sense of sadness when you receive a game and it doesn't click with you or you don't like it for whatever reason. And I should really emphasize that on all of these, that just because they weren't for Matt and I doesn't mean they're not for someone. So if you're watching this and like it seems appealing to you, take a look at it. You know, Matt and I play just about everything, anywhere from, you know, Happy Salmon to like chit war games. But along the way too, we've cultivated what our sense of taste is. And again, just because it didn't jive on that end doesn't mean it won't for you. I'm always thankful too for all these publishers who trust me in sending me things. Like the only one that wasn't that was Parks. And that one we purchased on our own, but these other 3 I was sent, 2 from Mondo and 1 from, oh dear. And that, you know, again, that brings me a certain sense of sadness. So let's kind of roll through very quickly. I'm going to have a gray pesty poopy here because we're getting really close on supper time and he's going to be all up in my craw, folks. So I'm really sorry. I'm going to start with the one I probably liked the most, and that was Parks Memories. 2 players, ages 6 and up, 30 minutes. Taking some of the artwork from the 59 Parks game and using it here. Now, when they say Parks Memories, they really mean memories, like a game of memory. And I think I missed that. I'm gonna hold this up here because again, pesty poopy. It's a twist on memory with awesome artwork. The artwork like on this is out of this world. Component quality also out of this world. So you start off the game with a grid of tiles that are face down, and on your turn you're going to flip 2 tiles over. There are symbols up in the top right, and hopefully they match. If they don't, that's okay still. But either way, you are going to take one of those tiles and put it in front of you for your own personal tableau. If the symbols on the top right match, huzzah, you're going to refresh one of your elements, water, sun, and then the other ones that were in Parks. And then you're going to move your hiker to one of the ones that you did not take that's flipped over. And by the way, in the meantime, you filled in what you've taken and you flip them back over. So essentially the hiker is like, no, next person can't take that one. What you're trying to do is get 3 matching sets of cards. So you'll want 2 Grand Canyons, 2 Mount Rainiers, and 2 arches going on there. Cool. It was a little boring. It was a little boring. I loved looking at the art. I was totally distracted by the art the whole time. And I somehow missed that this was basically memory. And that's on me. That's totally fair. What I will say about this is that on the box it says ages 6 and up. 100% agree on that. But this out of these 4 is the only one that I'm going to keep because I think we could get Matt's parents to play this game, or when our niece and nephew and then other children in our lives are old enough. Parks Memories would actually be a really good game to play with them because it's teaching them about our national parks and the artwork again as well. And it's like the next step up from a regular game of memory. And they're learning something too. So the educational aspect on this I liked, and so we'll keep it. The next one I'll talk about is Shadowed Kingdom from Mondo Games, 2-player game, ages 8 and up, 15 to 20 minutes. So I'm not a Shadow Kingdom fan or Kingdom Hearts fan, although Matt and I are big Disney fans in this house. So I was really excited about this. I was like, oh, Dark Disney, 2-player game. We love 2-player games in our house. Again, and loved the Dark Disney thing going on. You will almost never really hear me say this. It was really random. If you've followed me and Matt for a really long time, you know we love dice checkers. We love dice. We don't necessarily care about randomness. It was really random. So again, like this, like Parks Memories, we got a grid going on where you're either pushing one way or pushing another way cards. And depending on which way you've pushed them is whether the person is going to be able to do the ability, or if they're not going to be able to do the ability and they have to put it in their discard pile. What you're essentially trying to do is get a certain amount of magic points and win, or a certain amount of shadow points, I think, and lose. You also have like a special character as well. I had Mickey Mouse in the last game of it that we played. I thought it had a lot of potential, and it was kind of disappointing for me in that aspect. But again, maybe if you're a Kingdom Hearts fan and you usually play with 2 players, this might be really good for you. You really like the theme, you really like the artwork, and it is pretty quick too. So it's not a game that you're going to have a huge loss of time invested in it. It just kind of can quickly set it up, get it going, and play it. Not for us. I'm going to bring this to the library. I'm going to put it in the children's room, and I think it's going to fly off the shelf in the children's room because it's Mickey. It's Disney. And IP games in our children's room tend to do really well. So again, it's going to have a home, and it's going to have a whole new audience of people who are going to be able to play it and enjoy it. Or maybe not enjoy it, but it'll have another life there. So those are positives. I feel really terrible about this one. I had a conversation with the people who produced it out in Australia, I think. So this game came all the way from Australia to Connecticut. And this is Virtual Reef Diver Tabletop Edition, 2 to 8 players, 30 minutes, all ages. Another grid game. Wow, there's a lot of good games in this review. Okay. Where a 4x3 grid of Reef cards is face down. Everyone has a classification guide in front of them, and essentially what you're trying to do is point to a card and go marine life, hard coral, soft coral, technology, and if you guess right, you get to keep the card. After 3 rounds, the player with the most cards and points essentially is the winner. I think this game can be very educational, without a doubt. The all ages thing on me, I would make a huge amendment of, because I would give it to a very specific audience to play. And I would give it to elementary science students. Right there. Because on the back of every card, there's a huge amount of information about that marine life. It tells about a dolphin, and there's like little factoids on the back. That part is awesome. As an adult, it was lost on me, and the gameplay for me wasn't exciting. Maybe for a different crowd, for a bunch of elementary school students, learning about the ocean, this would probably be a home run for a teacher. Huge home run. There are reef encounters that happen at the end of every round, and they kind of shake things up. I could possibly do without those, just because, it's a little take daddy in that you may potentially lose cards that you have gained throughout the round. I'm also really bad apparently at distinguishing between hard coral, soft coral, and algae. So I need to go back to elementary school science and learn something. But the technology cards on here do have QR codes on them, and QR codes are so big right now. You can learn more. So the educational value on this one is really high, so I can't fault it for that at all. In terms of gameplay, it wasn't for a 34-year-old adult. It just wasn't exciting at all. I feel like Matt and I, after we got through a couple of like guessing, we kind of just checked out of sorts. And again, I feel like that doesn't make me happy. That does not make me happy. I'm bringing this to the library as well. Definite children's room edition. I think parents are going to go gaga over this. I'm going to tell our children's librarians about this game too. So when parents come in looking for science things for their children, this game right here, educational moments. Love it. And the final one is Dream Crush from Mondo Games as well. I'm so sorry, Mondo Games. I'm really so sorry. How many players on this bad boy? Oh, 2 to 6, ages 14, 30 minutes. All right. I will preface this with a totally huge positive of this was the diversity of the crushes. Huge diversity, and I give major props to Mondo Games for that. If you were someone who couldn't find your dream crush in here, then like characters, I'm not even sure what else to crushes that you can choose from. So in the 2-player game that Matt and I played, you pick out 3 crushes. I picked out 2 guys and 1 girl, and you have a board, another grid of sorts, with different attributes, and then like descriptors, 3 descriptors that run along the side, and you are trying to guess. You put down who your personal pick would be, and then you put down who you think your opponent, so for me, Matt, would choose. And then you reveal and you talk about it. And that's the game. You go through the entire grid there. Might have been 4 rounds. And then you count up whoever had like the most correct matches from when you guessed. I love the cover of this game. Like the cover to me had so much potential, like so much potential. I loved kind of the 90s, just like Lisa Frank vibe that's going on here in terms of the color palette. I was kind of excited. I was like, oh, fantasy dating game. Like this will be awesome. You know, maybe we'll have like some RPG aspects in it. And it's a party game. It's very much a party game. And I think it's like a party game for high school kids. And that's not a bad thing. That's not necessarily a bad thing. But I was kind of bothered by the fact that we were essentially judging the people that were the 3 crushes. We were judging them by look alone. And that bothered me. Like, that really bothered me. Because as someone who, like, for so many years, you're, like, getting a whole story here, you know, until Matt came around, I didn't feel like I was anyone. I didn't look like anyone. I didn't feel confident in myself. To do that to these people, and these are, like, they're pictures of real people that are like stylized and characterized as whatever, that bothered me. That old adage of don't judge a book by its cover, although I do judge books by their cover, like literal books by their covers. I try not to do that with people, and I did that here. And I think teenagers would maybe get a kick out of this and have a really fun time, but as an adult, I didn't care for it. Again, it's you can see I'm like struggling with this because awesome cover, really dynamic art, like, you know, this dating game kind of concept. I haven't seen a super lot of those, like romance ones, you know, besides like Fog of Love. And it's disappointing. It's so disappointing. And again, you want a game to succeed. You want someone's dream to come true. Maybe their dream crush to come true. And it was just. So I'm probably going to bring this to the library. I'm going to put it in our teen section, and I think it'll go well there. Again, because of that party game aspect to it. That's all, folks. I feel kind of sad and dejected after doing this. Yeah, that's that. If you like this video, comment, like, subscribe, give me a boost. If any of these games seem interesting to you, check them out. Again, because it didn't appeal to us, doesn't mean it won't appeal to you. That's all for next time. I'm gonna go like do a happy dance, cheer myself up, and we'll see you next time.